Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. Welcome to week 3 of our summer boot camp series. I am going to be talking today about networking and LinkedIn. And I think these are really fun topics, and we have lots of networking opportunities in New Orleans. If you need help finding networking opportunities wherever you live, let me know and I can assist. So I'll get started. My name is Susan Delahousse. I am the career advisor here at Tulane School of Professional Advancement. My background is in recruiting. I did over 10 years of hiring, and I also did career advising at LSU Law School. We are going to talk about networking first. And the great thing about networking is there are opportunities to network in person, and because of LinkedIn, there are great opportunities to network online. And you can mix both of those together, and I feel like you get a really great experience with networking. And when you meet someone at a networking event, you will definitely want to connect with them on your LinkedIn, which we're going to talk about. And also, if you are not interested in being on LinkedIn, and I'll send y'all a link to this, it's okay. You don't have to, there's no pressure. But there are digital business cards, and I have one on a website, which is also an app called Blink. And you'll see here, I believe you can get 2 business cards for free, which is great. If you don't want to use LinkedIn, you can use something like this to connect with people at events and share your contact information that way. And so let's talk about networking and how to be smart about it, how to build connections, how to keep them. Like I said, there's so many opportunities. And if you're in a certain area, let's say you're in our IT program, there are work and tech events here in New Orleans, which are very specific. But I don't want everyone to think that working at a tech company, you have to be focused on technology, because I did HR for a tech company and I did all of the hiring for the tech company. Of course, I had to hire people in marketing, I had to hire people in accounting. A tech company is a really fun atmosphere to work in, but don't think you have to be a programmer or software engineer to work at a tech company. You can work in different departments there. And you'll want to have a support system when you're doing your job search. Look for someone who could be your mentor. It could be me, it could be a different career advisor at Tulane, it could be a family member. And you want to be visible when you're in that job search. You want to be active on LinkedIn, liking posts, reposting. If you're confident enough to make your own posts, go for it. So there's great ways to build connections, and there are strategies. You can attend events and conferences even while you're still in school. I was just at one on Monday and Tuesday this week up at LSU. It was so good. I learned so much packed into 2 days. And you can also ask people, you could reach out to Tulane alumni on LinkedIn, people who are in your industry, ask them if you can shadow them for a day at their work to just get an idea of what's it like. Let's say you eventually want to become an attorney or you are in the nursing program. Ask people if you can shadow them and see what they do for a day. And a lot of people would love that. They are proud of their jobs and would be happy to show you around their office, maybe not for a full day, maybe for 4 hours in the afternoon. And you kind of get a taste. You could also make connections while you're shadowing someone. With your LinkedIn, you want to show your expertise. You want to highlight everything on your resume, everything that you've done at Tulane, any awards, accomplishments. You can list all your courses, and you can show more on LinkedIn than a one-page resume For example, you can put all the courses that you've taken that are relevant to the industry that you want to work in. You can put that on LinkedIn, and you might not have room for something like that on your resume. You want to engage with contact, congratulate people when they get new jobs, and also do some direct outreach. Reach out to Tulane alumni. Let's say you're in a master's program at Tulane and you attended a different university for undergrad. You can also connect with those undergrad. I connect with people from my high school. So use your, education, contacts, resources, and it can be someone that you've never met before. I went to University of Alabama. I've had someone reach out to me who went to Alabama and was interested in working in career services, but we made that connection, and I Zoomed with him for 20 minutes and talked about how I got my foot in the door at Tulane and about my experience. And I was happy to do it, but he made that loose connection. And I was like, yeah, sure. I'll, help someone who went to Alabama. If you are going to a networking event, like I said, there's work in tech events in New Orleans. There's also the New Orleans Chamber of Commerce events, which are awesome. And they're always at a different venue in New Orleans. And I typically attend. Someone else who works at SOPA is an ambassador for the New Orleans Chamber. When you go to a chamber event and you sign in at the front door, there are ambassadors there who are there to help you meet people. You'll tell them what you're interested in, and they'll try and find someone at the event to make an introduction to. I went to my first chamber event alone, and they could tell when I walked in the door. I didn't know anyone there. An ambassador introduced me to someone, and then the night just took off from there. I met more people, and you can always go back to an ambassador for help. Come to me, come to one of my colleagues who's an ambassador there. And typically we have a good group of Tulane students there, so you can meet other students as well. The president of the New Orleans Chamber of Commerce is a SOPA grad, and she loves seeing our students there. She's always very impressed. If you are nervous about networking, I completely understand, which is why I often attend these events and can help. But you can also, jot down a few conversation starters before you do attend a networking event in case you run out of things to talk about, right? It typically doesn't happen. Everyone at a networking event is there for the same reason. They want to meet people. And it typically flows, but if you get in a situation, you have a few conversation starter questions written down, that can really help. And just maintain those relationships. When you connect with someone on LinkedIn at an event, which is often what happens when you meet someone, you'll ask them, hey, are you open to connecting on LinkedIn? And you'll look them up right there on your phone and connect with them. You can follow up the next day and send them a message and let them know how great it was to meet them. And it can start a dialogue. And maybe you all will continue that somewhere else, either Zoom or meet up for coffee. Or maybe they mentioned they would connect you to someone else in your industry. So it's up to you to do that outreach and connect with people. And once you start going to networking events, when you go to work in tech all the time and you go to the New Orleans Chamber of Commerce events all the time, you end up seeing the same people. And then you see them and you're like, oh, hey, I remember you from the last event. And then they become your real friend. So that is the fun part of getting out there and connecting with people in person. And then you can reach out to them via email or messaging on LinkedIn to follow up about anything that you all discussed. You can also offer assistance. A lot of times I'll meet someone, we'll have a conversation, and I'll say, "Oh, I'll send you that tomorrow." So you can send them a link to something that you talked about. Maybe it's a book you read or a podcast that you listened to that you think they would like. And then that builds the relationship. And then always express gratitude. If someone is interested in helping you, you're just starting out in your career, and they connect you to someone or let you know about an opportunity at their company, definitely. It's always nice to get a handwritten note. I know those are rare these days, but those are nice. Thank yous over email or LinkedIn messaging work well. And I wanted to show you on LinkedIn, if you go to my network and my connections, this is going to be these are going to be the people that I have connected with most recently. And this is someone who I just connected with at the conference that I attended. So you can see, if, let's say, I went to a chamber event last night and I connected with 5 people, and maybe I don't remember all of their names, but I just connected with them at LinkedIn at the event. This is where you're going to find them. Maybe you just remember their first name, but not their last name. And so this is great. The other thing is on LinkedIn, a lot of people don't know this, but I will show you on my phone. If you are at a networking event, and hopefully you all will be able to see this, sometimes you can. If you open your LinkedIn app, if you just touch in the search bar, there will be something on the far right that looks like a QR code, and that is going to be your way to connect with someone at a LinkedIn event. And it's really small, but it is really helpful. So you don't have to search for someone's name. You can just pull up your own QR code, and then they can use their camera to take a picture or to connect through the camera. And then you are connected. And on LinkedIn, we'll talk about, ways to update and make your profile look great using Canva and Cool Symbol. Another thing is Eventbrite is a great way to find out about events in your area. You can go to, I'm not logged in, but it shows business events, and I would click on career events, obviously. And many organizations are using Eventbrite for signups for their events, where they can capture everyone's email and send a follow-up afterwards. A lot of networking events are free. This is where Work in Tech has their events, NOLASEC, which is cybersecurity events in New Orleans. The Chamber has their own sign-in. And just so you know, all Tulane students can go to Chamber events for free, which is awesome because the president of the Chamber went to Tulane, and we hosted a Chamber event at Tulane last year. I'll send you all that code following this. The other thing is, as you all know, as a Tulane student, we have WaveSync, which has a bunch of events on it, and you all can network. You can meet each other there, which counts as networking, but also maybe there's a staff member at one of these events. I often speak at student org events, or a faculty member that's speaking or running something, and connect with them on LinkedIn. You just never know who they know, who's going to be a good connection for you in the future. And we have tons of great organizations at Tulane. I am just going to highlight one of them just to make hopefully it, how was that? It's not coming, but I know what it says. And maybe they're not on here because there's nothing for the summer yet. But Tulane Toastmasters is great. It's a public speaking organization, and it's an internationally recognized organization. We also have within SOPA, we started Charm, which is for human resources, which is internationally recognized. If you get into an organization at Tulane that other campuses have, that other cities have, it's recognized all over the world. It's a great connection piece for an interview. ICMA is another organization that's recognized all over the country. And, you know, all of these things are building blocks for your resume and things to discuss in an interview. You could get into an interview with someone and they say, "Oh, I see you did Toastmasters at Tulane. I did Toastmasters in San Francisco," or "I was at Stanford and did Toastmasters." And then your interview can go in a different direction. So think about that when you're joining student organizations, and maybe just pick one that's nationally or internationally recognized to add to your resume. Of course, joining a sports group is also fun, but also a connection piece as well. We just have really great student orgs, and you can find out about all of them. I believe they'll have the next student org event over Labor Day weekend, which they usually do in the Riley Center. And that's great. You can walk around and go to all the tables and ask them questions about what their organization does, how active they are. And it's really fun. I learned a lot. I've learned a lot every time I've gone to that. We are going to start with looking at your profile on LinkedIn. And there's a few things. When I did hiring, we did look at everyone's social media. We looked for their Facebook, Instagram. LinkedIn was really important. And one of the most important things about LinkedIn is that your resume matches your LinkedIn. You want your experience, you want these dates to match what you have on your resume, because a lot of recruiters will go look, and we don't want to confuse the recruiter. If dates don't match, if certain jobs aren't on there, we need to see consistency and that your resume is correct and that is reflected on LinkedIn. There's a lot of things that will tell me that someone's worked hard on their LinkedIn, but I don't think creating a LinkedIn profile is hard. One of the things is having a personalized URL, and you'll see up here, mine's Susan-Delahousse. Mine was pretty easy to get because not many people have my name. But when LinkedIn gives you your URL, it has a bunch of numbers behind it, and you can go up here to your public profile and edit your URL. Now, it might mean you have to put your middle name in between. You might just put your middle initial. Typically, with a few tries, you can get your custom URL pretty quickly. The other thing is having a nice professional headshot. We will host headshots at SOPA in the fall and the spring. And the other thing is, it's okay if you don't have a professional headshot yet. I was working with a student yesterday. He's getting dressed up to go somewhere tomorrow. And I told him, just have someone take a picture of you at a blank wall in your house. take it outside under a tree. And he was like, oh, yeah, I'm going to be dressed up on Friday. I'll do that. And an iPhone works great. And then if you want to come to professional headshots, great. But maybe the one you take at home works better. And having a background up here, one that isn't the one that's provided by LinkedIn, and you could make this as simple as possible. You can make it a solid color, or you can create one on Canva. And I was showing a student these yesterday, just ones that I've played around with. And of course, you can make so many changes to these and add and delete, and so there's tons of options to make. You just search for a LinkedIn banner and it's the perfect size and it goes right into your LinkedIn profile. But you can also take, if you live in New Orleans and you want to put a skyline, a landscape size skyline of New Orleans, if you love Tulane and you want to put a roll wave in your whatever, it's just something that resonates with you, shows a little bit of your personality. And if not, it could be a sunset photo or the mountains or whatever you're interested in. The other thing is having a good tagline here. I know that copying people is a big form of flattery, and I saw some who I'd never met before looked at my profile. I went and looked at her profile, and she copied and pasted my tagline word for word and used it as hers. And I was like, that's fine. I don't know her. I guess that means mine looks good, right? And I'm not saying go do that, but look at other people's profiles, see what they're doing, and I'll send you all the link to there is a website, coolsymbol.com, that has all these little symbols so you can copy and paste them and add a little bit of pop into your LinkedIn profile, because LinkedIn, not that I know of yet, doesn't allow you to add emojis and things like that. So you can add a little bit of color here. I added some things from Cool Symbol in my about section. And on LinkedIn, I don't make my own posts. I repost a lot, job opportunities. I like job opportunities. I congratulate people when they get promotions and get new jobs. But you can make your own. And I think one of the coolest things is you can write an article. And I did do this once and post it on here. And Mike Fitz, president of Tulane, he does it. And I think that is really fun. I did one, I think, on interview prep. And I was like, that was so easy, right? So if there's something in your industry that you want to talk about, write about it, post a photo, and publish it. I think that is a great way to, showcase your skills and your industry and let people know what you're interested in and what you're focused on. And now my screen is frozen, so I'm going to unshare for a moment and let's hope that it comes back. All right, here we go. We're back. And on LinkedIn, we'll scroll down more, and don't stress over filling out all the sections on LinkedIn. When you're editing your page, go through each section. I don't have patents, honors and awards, test scores, languages, causes. So just do the things that resonate with you, that you can fill out quickly. I don't have all the bullets from my resume on my LinkedIn. I don't think anyone wants to read them. That's just my preference, but you can if you want. Also, I think if you are in that job search, it is good because it's going to have more keywords in case people are recruiters are looking for people. It will help them pick up more keywords if you do have all of your bullets from your resume on there. Volunteering is another great way to network. I volunteer with Son of a Saint in New Orleans, and I have volunteered in the past for Dress for Success New Orleans. And these are both really popular. And I have these on my resume. When I go into an interview in New Orleans, chances are there may be someone that I'm meeting with who volunteers for one of these organizations. And then the interview goes in a completely different direction. And now we're talking about what events we've volunteered for, Son of a Saint, and how great of an organization it is, and how fantastic Dress for Success is, and what a great asset they are for the community. And, you know, volunteering's great, of course, for networking, for the community, and just personally, it's just wonderful after you've done it. You feel so much better and accomplished, and it's a really great way to spend the day and meet some people who you may have never met before. Adding skills as you build your career is great. Asking for recommendations, adding the organizations that you're involved in. And down here is, I think, is one of the most important things is companies that you follow on LinkedIn. A lot of them are going to be posting, we have job openings, we have opportunities. So the more places that you follow in your industry, the more opportunities you're going to see in your feed. And the other thing is, if you go to a company's website, you can see if someone who works there went to Tulane or went to your high school or went to the other undergrad organization that you attended, and make a connection that way. And, go look at your professors, what they're following, because they're going to be following organizations that are in your industry. And so you can just look at their list, or you can come look at mine and see, and I'm just using Ernst & Young as an example. If you go to their people page, this is like magic. If you search for Tulane, let's hope we get some matches. And you can find people who work at Tulane, who went to Tulane, who work at Ernst & Young. Now, what I do recommend is you double check their profiles. So she still works at Ernst & Young. You always want to verify, because sometimes they have Ernst & Young in their profile, but they've moved on to a new job and went to Tulane. We have a match here. This could be someone who you would want to reach out to if you're interested in working at Ernst & Young. The other thing is, maybe you'll want to reach out to multiple people at Ernst & Young, because sometimes people don't log into their LinkedIn all the time. They don't have notifications set up that they're getting messages. It's not like email where it's going to automatically come into their inbox. So don't stress if someone doesn't write you back. There's no out of office reply on LinkedIn. You won't know if they're on vacation or maternity leave, or just, taking an extended period of time off. But I do, it's just consider it a gift if someone does write you back and they offer to assist. And you never know, maybe the director of HR sits in the office next to them and they go put in a good word for you if you've already sent in an application. I do recommend, if you are going to contact people on LinkedIn, it's better if you've already applied at a job at the company where they're working. It shows them that you're already putting in the work. You're not asking them to look for a job for you. You're doing that. You're search you're you've set up your job alerts on Indeed or job alerts on LinkedIn, and then they know, oh wow, this person is proactive. They've already applied for a job at Ernst and Young. They found me on LinkedIn, sent me a message, made a connection with the school, and asked me to connect. When I connect with someone on LinkedIn, I like to just send a very short message, point out that we have that connection. I see you went to Tulane. I'm about to graduate, and I just applied for X position at Ernst and Young. I hope you're open to connecting. That's it. Then they can decide whether or not to accept your connection or not. And then they might write you back and say, thanks so much for reaching out. This is so great. Mr. So-and-so sits right next to me. He's the director of HR. I'll let him know you applied for that position. Good luck with it. Let me know if you have any questions. And then you have a dialogue going with that person. People are busy and they don't want extra work. So let it be their idea to help you. Just say, that guy that I showed y'all earlier, who I just connected with at a conference that I went to in Baton Rouge earlier this week. I sent him a message. I said, hey, I thought your presentation was fantastic, which I did. I hope you're open to connecting. And he wrote back and he was like, thanks so much for saying that. I really appreciate it. I'm always open to connecting with new people. And that was it. I don't need anything from him, but now we have a dialogue going. And maybe if I have a student who's interviewing at his company, now I could write him and say, hey, he's the director of HR. I have this candidate from Tulane who's coming to interview or who applied for your organization. Would you mind taking a second look at their application? I had a student recently. This is the best story. He is still an undergrad and applied to be in a paralegal program at a law firm in New York City. And he was offered the opportunity to interview and receive the name of the woman who he would be interviewing with, and looked her up on LinkedIn, saw that I was connected to her. He reached out to me and asked me if I knew her. And I was like, yes, I used to work with her at that law firm in New York City many moons ago. And let me send her a message. I sent her a message on LinkedIn. I said, you're going to be meeting with one of my favorite Tulane students. They Zoomed. And then they talked about me. And then they felt more connected because they had a mutual connection. And there is no way on this planet that they would have been able to figure that out, that they both know me, unless there was LinkedIn. And so that is the ultimate goal, is to have someone put in a good word for you, have someone who's a mutual connection. And that is why it's important to connect with staff at Tulane. You all can connect with me on here, connect with professors, connect with classmates, friends, family members, people from high school, because you never know 10 years from now where someone's going to be working. And maybe you're trying to get a job there. and you can say, oh, hey, remember we had Professor so and so together when we were at Tulane and I sat behind you. And then that could be your entree into your next job. And that's the best thing about LinkedIn is that's how you're going to figure those things out. And those stories really do happen. But on the flip side, you don't always have to have the personal connection. I had a student who was interested in working at Netflix in a summer intern position, and she found someone on LinkedIn who worked in that department at Netflix, and she'd already applied, and she reached out, and he said out of the hundreds of applications that they received, she was the only person who did a little bit of diligence on LinkedIn and found someone easily at Netflix who worked in that department and sent him a message. And he passed that on to the person who was doing the hiring. And they said, we're definitely going to interview her because she's gone above and beyond every other candidate. And of course, she had to do a great job in her interview, which she did, and she got the job. But they let her know that because of her outreach, she stood out. And the more that people see your name and your face, then they feel like they know you and you're recognizable. And when I was doing hiring, sometimes people would apply for multiple jobs at where I worked. Maybe we had a litigation associate position open in New Orleans, but also in Mobile. And this candidate was open to living in either city. But I would see their name more than once, and that would tell me, wow, this person really wants to work here. And when I applied to work at Tulane, I probably applied to 7 or 8 jobs here because I really wanted to work here. And finally, I got a call from the recruiting department to discuss what I really wanted to do. So definitely put yourself out there if it's in the room or if it's online, but make sure what is just really important is that you have built a profile, you've built connections, because I promise you the recruiters are looking at it. And if you want to, meet with me and we can work on your profile for, it might take 30 minutes just to update things, put up a new background banner, come up with a new tagline and add some symbols. I think it's fun. It's free. I have a LinkedIn premium subscription, and I only joined to see if I thought that students would need it. And I do not think it's necessary. It's expensive. And I think with the free subscription, you get almost as many perks. Tulane offers LinkedIn Learning for free, which is one of the premium perks. If you do want to try LinkedIn Learning, I can send you a promo code for you to try it. I think it's for a month. And then you can decide if you want to join or not, but you do need to remember to cancel it or else they'll start charging you. But I don't think you need to pay for the subscription. I think that the free one is just fine while you're in school. So let me see if we have covered everything. I think we have, but definitely let me know if you all have any questions. You're welcome to put them in the chat or in the Q&A. I think when you're in that job search process, definitely be active on LinkedIn. I know there are recruiters who are going to message with you, and now with AI, I know companies are going to start using AI to reach out to people. I saw some examples of it at the conference I attended earlier this week. So you do need to be careful about who is reaching out to you. Look at their profiles, see if you have any mutual connections with them, try to find their company page online, try to find if you can find them listed on their company page online. Also, you could always call that company if they have a main number and confirm that that person works there. There are scams that are going on about jobs, just trying to get people's, social security number and all their contact information. Definitely be careful. If you were going to go look for me, I would be on Tulane's website. There would be a page. There's a way to call me. So in this day and age, I definitely recommend you do your homework. If someone does reach out to you on LinkedIn or email, it seems too good to be true. It probably is. And and do your diligence. If someone is trying to offer you a job on LinkedIn and it's going too fast, they're offering a lot of money. Because I have seen some scams over the last few years that people get to that point where they're like about to give them their information and then they hold off and they trust their gut and they were right. It was a scam. And so let me know if you all need anything. I will follow up this presentation with things that we discuss, links to the websites, and the code for the New Orleans Chamber of Commerce events for you all to attend. I hope to see you all there. You can definitely email me to confirm that I'm going to be attending and that I will meet you there. All right. Well, I hope everyone has a great afternoon, and I hope to see you next week. We'll be doing interview preparation, which is so important and one of my favorite presentations. Thanks.